Hey everybody, this is Travis Hansen, author of the Speed Encyclopedia, director of the Reno Speed School inside the South Reno Athletic Club, and I wanted to take a minute today to discuss a sprint exercise for team sport athletes that I would deem extremely valuable and pretty neglected from what I've seen, because it's generally associated with the track and field realm, the track and field culture. But just like with powerlifting and Olympic lifting, I think that we can adopt specific strategies from those populations and then modify it to fit the needs and to make our athletes more successful in team sports settings. So flying sprints. Flying sprint is simply it's a top speed enhancement exercise. So if you look at the research, Charlie Francis, I read this in his book, Key Concepts of the League. He discussed that a lot of beginner, intermediate level sprinters, which a lot of fast team sport athletes are, they begin decelerating, around 20, 30 meters, 20, 30 yards. And we get tested for 40 yards, 60 yards. So, it's not good if the athlete's decelerating too early. You want that athlete to accelerate longer and build greater top speed to allow better times. And because a lot of that training is not directly going on or present, I think that's one big deficiency that, electronically from studying our system, I've been able to verify it in myself and in others. And then also, I'm sure it's present in other athletes as well, because this concept, I don't think it's talked about very much in the team sport population. So basically a flying sprint is being able to build greater speed, from mid-level acceleration, 20 yards, up until the 40-yard mark, so that the athlete doesn't decelerate. They just accelerate as long as possible and get the best time possible. So it's definitely an exercise that you want to implement, and because I do think most athletes can continue to accelerate and increase speed, to 10 to 20 yards, but they may not be during, after that point. So unless you either study it directly to find out where the deficiencies lie, or just to be safe, you just implement some of that training into your program right now. So some of the benefits and the value of the flying sprints is that it develops the glute and hamstring complex, or area, or what we call the posterior chain, because of that particular pattern that's associated, with those distances, 20 to 40 yards. If we analyze it, the knee's going to be a lot stiffer. It's going to be less compliancy or bend, when we make ground contact, and basically it's just going to be all hip extension, from the landing phase all the way until closer to takeoff. So we're going to be the performance in those areas will be heavily reliant upon our backside. So doing exercise to strengthen that area and doing your flying sprints is going to build bigger and stronger glutes and hamstrings. So that's one of the key features of flying sprint work. I call it the middleman. So it could be pretty well understood with what I just said previously, but you see a lot of people focus on that first step, explosiveness, building a faster start, accelerating, 10 to 20 yard sprints. You see a lot of talk, discussion there. You see a lot, and even a little bit of talk about, building top speed, but it's that middle portion, I think becomes undervalued a lot of times. I've heard a lot of coaches note that, the greatest improvement that can be made is from 0 to 20 yards, because it takes us longer to perform those times. So there's more time that potentially that you could cut off, but it's not so true, because the nature of the exercise, because there's no momentum, because ground contact time is longer, it's automatically going to make those splits a little bit longer naturally. And if you just study it, if you look at it, you're going to see a lot of times that these athletes do well off the start, and they do well to 20 yards, but they don't finish well. So we want to build that finish, and you want to build what we call breakaway speed. You just got to look at some of these athletes, Bo Jackson, Randy Moss, etc. These guys all have breakaway speed, so it's going to lead to greater production, in your sports setting as well. So middleman, missing length, It's going to prevent deceleration, help you accelerate longer and faster. I think I've talked about that 2-3 times now. Horizontal force production, if you look at the studies, look at the research, that's going to be huge because of the body position, because of the alignment at that particular time in the race. Vertical force is still present, it's just the knee's not going to be as bent, and if we want to accelerate faster, we're going to have to be powerful, and we're going to have to build that horizontal force, which only comes from the glutes and the hams, which I just discussed. And then top-down relationships. This is something I've noticed. I had a chart in my book, so it took the fastest guys in the 100-meter dash and it kind of gave you all their various splits. And I mean, these guys at 40 yards, 40 meters were just 4.1 to 4.3 range. Electronically, fully electronically, so who knows what they would get at a combine. But they had fast 40-yard splits. I'm sure 60 meters would have been fast, 60 yards would have been fast, 40 was fast. And if you look at the top 20 40-yard performers, at the NFL Combine historical data site, which gives all the splits of every athlete, the best 20-yard performers have blazing fast 40s, or they're generally the lead at both. And then all the same as 10 yards, and it's going to be the same issue off the start as well. So it really is, there really is a top-down relationship. Is that and if you think about it, working from 20 to 40 yards, that's going to allow you another 10 to 12 foot contacts, and that's 10 to 12, and we multiply that by each run. That's 10 to 12 more chances to get our body to adapt, to get it to become faster and express our strength and power faster, so that when we go to the start and the shorter distance, we're going to be faster, because those longer distance forces us to recruit our muscles, at a hyper rate, just as fast as possible. So there's definitely some carryover there that I think kind of goes under the radar. And then target split. So real quick, I want to give you what good flying sprint times would be, some target values. So for high schoolers, I think anything around 2 seconds or 2 seconds and 2/10, 2:20, that's going to be within that little range or spectrum. It's going to be good. College, sub 2 seconds. Pro, anything from 1.8 to 2 seconds, and then elite, anything sub 8 is just ridiculous. So probably Olympic level guys. So those are kind of some standards that you can utilize as motivation, or just kind of a benchmark to kind of see where you're at now and where you need to be. So hopefully, again, you took away some good info. Definitely a concept that you don't hear a lot of discussion about, so I wanted to kind of talk about it for a little while. And that pretty much covers it. So talk to you next time. Thanks.